Hello, my beloveds. I am so happy that everybody, or for the most part, most people, have really enjoyed Black Panther, and everybody is commenting on it. I've read a lot of different articles about it, and I've read commentaries, heard commentaries. But the one thing that I want to address, I haven't heard anybody really talk about it, but it's kind of one of those taboo things that the movie addressed, but I don't really see a lot of the audience addressing it. And this part of the movie really stood out to me the most. It really resonated with me more than almost anything else in the movie. And it was when T'Challa and Nakia were in the marketplace, and they were kind of going back and forth. And T'Challa goes, "Well, you would be a great queen if you weren't so stubborn." And Nakia pushes back and goes, "No, I would be a great queen because I'm so stubborn." And I think that a lot of people may have felt uncomfortable with that, or kind of went over their heads almost. But I think that that's a very important lesson for women to learn. And because I'm black, this message is for black women. I know in the past, well, even now, people are, especially if you're like a really church-going person, it's like, oh no, don't go against, your husband. Or I've heard people tell me before I got married that, oh, well, you're just too strong. No man's going to want that. You're too opinionated. No one's going to want that. And I've seen instances where, men felt like I was too strong of a woman to be a mate for them. And that was a really hard time for my life. I just thought, well, damn, I'm being by myself. Like, all right, at first, my first thought was, okay, well, how can I be more feminine? How can I feminize myself more so I can be desirable? I look good on the outside, but because I was independent and kind of strong-willed, I wasn't as strong-willed as I am now because I didn't know who I was then. I was still learning about who I was. And so, I went through all of those emotions and doing what I thought was necessary, doing what other people thought was necessary, what older people thought was necessary for me to catch a man. And then one day I was in JCPenney, and it was a really sad day for me. I was in JCPenney, and I never go to JCPenney. It's not my store. But I saw a necklace, and I used to wear this necklace all the time. And I don't even wear jewelry, but the necklace said, well-behaved women rarely make history. And I don't know what it was about that necklace, but it changed my freaking life. Me being an educated woman, me being strong spiritually, was an intimidation for a lot of people. And I used that intimidation to shut off all that God had given to me to do. But when I read that necklace, it just opened a door for me. It changed my life more than what I can ever imagine. And it gave me permission to pursue my dreams and to pray and say, well, God, why can't I have both? Because that's what I heard. You can't have both. You can't be strong, independent, and be married to a guy and have a family and all. And I'm like, well, God, why can't I have both? And he told me, you can and you will. Because you asked me, you will. We will prove people wrong. And so I pursued my dreams, and I let God lead me to where He wanted to lead me, and I went where I wanted to go, trusting that my relationship with God is so strong that He's going to, if I go too far left or too far right, He's going to bring me to the middle. And so I say all of that just to encourage women to be yourselves, be who God has called you to be the strong woman that God has called you to be. It's not okay to be this super subservient person to anybody but God. If you feel like God is calling you to be super subservient to somebody else, I would say go and take a deep breath and pray a lot more, read a lot more, look deeper into yourself, because even God gives us a choice to choose this day who you will serve. And so if God gives us a choice, then people who are not God, any man, any woman, has no right to give you an ultimatum, either this or that. And if someone does give you an ultimatum of either this or that, then that's not the right person for you, or it's the right person for you and you need to challenge them. And I say that because there came a time in my marriage with Elvin where there were times where I had to purposefully challenge him. And I'm not saying challenge every single thing that your husband says or your mate or whoever. You don't have to challenge. You have to choose your battles very, very purposefully. You have to figure out, for me, I had to sit and think, is it important for me to go down this rabbit hole of arguing? And if it was something that was very important to me, then yes, I went down that rabbit hole, knowing where we were going, that we were going to argue, knowing that it wasn't going to be overnight, knowing that this may take a while, but I'm going to stand my ground for certain stuff that I believe in. And I will use Abigail in 1 Samuel 25, where her husband Nabal was like terrible. He was like Donald Trump terrible, okay? He was terrible, and she knew if I don't act now, we are all going to die. And so her stubbornness saved her. It saved her husband. It saved all his land. It saved all the people that were on the land. It saved a lot of people's lives. And after she told Nabal, this is what I did, then his choice to be stubborn and selfish and greedy is what killed him ultimately. But just to give you a biblical example of a woman who she chose her battle purposefully. She didn't argue about everything, but she chose her battle purposefully. And so I encourage you to read 1 Samuel chapter 25. Now, an example of a woman who didn't choose her battles purposefully would be Jezebel. She just wanted everything. She didn't give a damn about nobody, okay? Jezebel wanted what she wanted. And you can tell because her king, her husband, didn't have option. She didn't give him options of what he wanted. She only gave him her options of what she wanted. And so that's a bad example of being a stubborn black woman. Abigail is a good example of being a stubborn black woman. One story that I will share is I like being by myself. As an introvert, I have to unwind. And one of my ways to unwind is going to the movies. And so I knew that this would be a challenge for Elvin during the first years of our marriage because of a previous relationship that he was in that was not, where the woman was not trustworthy. And so when God showed me that basically if I don't stand my ground, I will be in a situation where I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. I won't be able to be independent and still dependent on him and be a good partner. And so my first go round, it was really difficult because he didn't want me to go to the movies. Why you need to go to the movies by yourself? I don't want to see that movie. And I invited him to see the movie. I always did. But he didn't want to go see that movie. And I'm not going to pressure you to see something that you don't want to see. But I really want to see this. I like James Bond, you know. So, or I like going to see The Hobbit. And so, when those movies came out, you know, I would say, well, I really want to go see the movie. I know you don't want to go, but I really want to go. And there would be little gripes here and there, arguments here and there. I don't understand why you need to go by yourself and and all this stuff. But I had to stand my ground. And it wasn't about, you know, me standing my ground because I wanted to go see a movie. It was me standing my ground because, yeah, I want to go see a movie, but also you need to learn how to trust again. And so God used my stubbornness to help him to learn how to trust again. And so that's a personal example of, you know, a stubborn black woman doing things purposefully. Now, I always go into an argument with my husband, thinking this is something that is worth arguing about. I do not argue with him about everything. And so I'm going to put that out there right now. I choose my arguments purposefully and carefully because I don't want to go too far. I don't want to go to a place where we can't return. And so before I even have any type of discussion with him, I am in prayer. I may fast. If it's something really big, I may fast. But I'm definitely in prayer. I'm definitely thinking about what I want to say, how I want to say it, you know, what I want to do and how I want to do it. How far down this rabbit hole do I want to go? Is it necessary to have this argument? Because every argument is not necessary to have. And so you can be a stubborn black woman and a wonderful queen to your husband. But you have to choose your battles purposefully, and you have to choose your battles carefully. Every issue is not worth arguing about. And so I'm glad that God gave me the wisdom on that early on and taught me how to argue where he didn't feel less than, and he didn't feel some type of way, but he heard what I was saying. And now, I mean, we have a wonderful relationship. I still get stubborn. I don't find myself having to get stubborn about certain things, about as many things anymore. But we work very well together, and he is a very trusting person. Like, he knows me. I tell him everywhere I go. I know that he needs that affirmation of my, what's the word I'm looking for? He needs that affirmation of my commitment to him. And so I give him that openly. But that was a battle that I had to fight. And it was for both of us, honestly. It really was. It was for both of us. And so I just want to encourage you guys, don't ignore that line, you know, when he goes, oh, you would be a wonderful queen if you weren't so stubborn. And I love that pushback. I love that pushback, and I can't wait to see what happens with this stubborn possible queen. Nobody knows if they're going to get married in the movie or not, but that really resonated with me. And so I hope that this message is edifying for somebody. I know that the movie was wonderful, and everybody else is hitting on all the other points, so I really don't feel a need to comment on everything, because so many people are hitting on so many other points. But that was something that I did notice that was missing from people's commentary on the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, go see it. And if you are a stubborn black woman, choose your battles carefully and let God lead you. Be in prayer, be in fasting, read your word, and know where God is taking you. God bless.